The Arctic is in grave danger, and it's not just from melting ice. A growing number of scientists are sounding the alarm about a controversial plan to fix climate change by tinkering with the planet's most fragile ecosystems. This bold approach, known as geoengineering, aims to cool the Earth by manipulating the Arctic and Antarctic environments. But here's where it gets controversial. Over 40 polar researchers argue that these schemes are not only risky, but could also divert our attention from the real solution: ditching fossil fuels. Geoengineering techniques, such as artificially thickening sea ice or releasing reflective particles into the atmosphere, have gained traction as potential tools to combat global warming. But this is the part most people miss. These methods, while seemingly innovative, might do more harm than good. The scientists publishing their concerns in Frontiers in Science warn that these approaches could lead to severe environmental damage, especially in the already vulnerable polar regions. Let's break it down. Geoengineering involves deliberate intervention in the Earth's climate system to counteract global warming. While some methods, like removing carbon dioxide through tree planting or machines, are widely accepted as part of net zero efforts, more radical ideas are sparking debate. Net zero, by the way, is the balance between greenhouse gases produced and removed from the atmosphere, the established path to limiting global warming. Professor Martin Siegert, a lead researcher from the University of Exeter, points out that ideas like reflecting sunlight only address the symptoms of climate change, not the root causes. And this is where opinions clash. Supporters argue that exploring these techniques is worth the risk, given the urgent need to curb rising temperatures. Opponents, however, believe the potential consequences are too severe, especially for the polar regions where much remains unknown. One controversial proposal involves releasing reflective aerosols into the atmosphere to cool the planet. This idea has even fueled online conspiracy theories, with some mistakenly linking it to aircraft condensation trails. But beyond the misinformation, legitimate concerns arise, such as disruptions to global weather patterns. Who gets to decide if and where these methods are used? In regions like the Arctic and Antarctic, governance is complex, and unilateral actions could escalate geopolitical tensions, warns Dr. Valérie Masson-Delmotte from Université Paris-Saclay. Another critique is the practicality of these schemes. For instance, a plan to pump seawater over Arctic sea ice to thicken it would require an estimated 10 million pumps to cover just 10% of the Arctic. Is this even feasible? The authors of the assessment argue that such projects are not only unrealistic, but also dangerously distracting from the urgent need to reduce emissions. Professor Siegert emphasizes that promoting these ideas could create a false sense of security, suggesting a solution to the climate crisis without the need for decarbonization. But is this a fair criticism? Even proponents of geoengineering research, like Dr. Sean Fitzgerald from the University of Cambridge, admit that these methods are at best supplementary to net zero, not a replacement. He acknowledges the valid concerns, but argues that the risks must be weighed against the perilous state of the climate. Here's the kicker. While some advocate for further research to make informed decisions, others, like Professor Siegert, believe these ideas are fundamentally unviable. A UK government-backed agency has allocated nearly £60 million for such research, though the government claims no plans to implement these methods. So, is this money well spent, or should it be redirected towards decarbonization and polar research? A UK government spokesperson reiterated their focus on reducing greenhouse gas emissions and adapting to climate change impacts. But the question remains, are we chasing a mirage with geoengineering, or is it a necessary gamble? What do you think? Is exploring these controversial methods a step in the right direction? Or should we double down on proven strategies like decarbonization? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments.